Welcome to episode number 266, where I'm speaking with Dr. Jay about his award-winning book, The Parent's Guide to Ayurveda. We talk about how the ancient principles of Ayurveda can set a great foundation for your child's life, help you understand your child's unique mind-body type, and how to navigate parenting in the digital age, and lots more. So please stay tuned. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette, and I hope to educate and empower you to take charge of your health and well-being, preventing disease in the body and mind so that you can thrive in life. I will be sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, which is the ancient healing tradition from India. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend listening to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. And if you like the content, please be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast so the new episodes will automatically download for you. Also, you may want to check out my private Elements community, which is away from social media. It's a safe space for like-minded people to come together, to connect, to share, to support each other, and to continue the conversation from the podcast episodes. Check out the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and just click on the community tab. And I hope to connect with you there. Thanks for listening. And now here's a new episode. This episode is sponsored by Kerala Ayurveda. Would you like to study Ayurveda with my guest today, Dr. Jay, and find out how you can start improving your health, happiness, and relationships? Kerala Ayurveda welcomes students of all levels, and you can study right from home. The new Principles of Ayurveda course is the perfect place to start. It's 8 lessons you can take at your own pace, studying the elements, doshas, nutrition, seasons, and much more. To learn more, visit keralaayurveda.us/courses. And for 35% off, use the code ELEMENTS35 when you sign up. Check out the show notes for all the details. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today, I'm very happy to welcome back Vaidya Jayarajan Kodikannath, or Dr. J as we know him. He's been a regular on the podcast, always a pleasure. Dr. J is a visionary, a classical trained Ayurveda doctor, and an accomplished teacher representing a lineage of Ayurveda practitioners from Kerala, India. He is CEO of Kerala Ayurveda, USA, and is president of NAPPA, the National Ayurveda Medical Association in the US, with a mission to make Ayurveda as a credible profession in the Western world. Dr. Jay worked as the chief medical officer of an internationally acclaimed Ayurvedic resort at Bangalore, India, called Ayurvedagram for more than 10 years before moving to America. Welcome back to the show, Dr. J.
Thank you. Thank you, Colette. So nice to be here with you.
Well, it's always a pleasure and a treat, and I appreciate you making time for this today. And also, today we're discussing your new book. Congratulations, The Parent's Complete Guide to Ayurveda, Principles, Practices, and Recipes for Happy, Healthy Kids.
Yes. One of my passionate projects. I always love to work with children, and they are the future world. So I wanted to write my first book on supporting children.
Amazing. And we have talked in previous episodes about the importance of introducing Ayurveda early in life, especially for children, just to understand their constitution type and to understand how to navigate the world. So I think let's start there. Why is it important to introduce Ayurvedic principles at a young age?
A very important question, Colette. See, our whole life is about the impressions. We start the life, whatever experiences we go through, whatever we are getting exposed, whatever we are getting used in the early ages, we have a tendency to continue that, because that's what we got used to. So if we can get our children used to certain routines and the process, the aspect of living in a more structured, natural, sustainable way, they will be able to carry that principle throughout their life naturally without any effort. Right now, the issue happens when we are adults. If you need to make a change in the way we eat or the way we do things in a day-to-day basis, it's not easy because we are already used to a different way. So I felt it is important that we give some guidance to the parents, and without affecting your life, without making too many changes, how you can follow certain principles. As you know, Ayurveda gives all this well-rounded guidance for, sustainable, healthy, harmonious living. So the idea is to help parents to set the principles of living in a very simple way so that the children will continue that principles of sustainable living throughout their life.
Wonderful. Yeah, what you lay as that foundation in the early years will really continue on. Wonderful. And you talked about, the parents and understanding their children. And I think that's important and really valuable wisdom from Ayurveda is understanding each person has a unique constitution or mind-body type. And so why is it so important for parents to understand their child's unique constitution?
Yes. As you rightly mentioned, Ayurveda is a very unique science because it is holistic, where help us to see everything as a part of one. We are an integral part of this nature, this one world family. At the same time, Ayurveda also dive deep into a completely personalized approach to life because every individual is unique. And according to that unique nature or constitution, our structural tendencies, our functional nature, our mental, emotional tendencies and affinities varies. If parents are able to identify the general, tendency of their children based on the constitution, the body structure, the body function, the tendencies, affinities, it will be very easy for them to navigate based on that. Otherwise, we may tend to force fit because we think that every child is same. So we will have one plan for every children and that won't work.
Yes.
So if you know the nature of your child, supporting the child and sustaining that, the health will be much, much easier. For example, a Vata constitution child being, tendency to have that light, dry quality, how much the parents feed them, they will have a tendency to stay slender, lean. And if the parents are overloading the child because they want the child to be well built, it may create problem for that. So there is an approach that is needed for that particular child. Whereas if the child is a kapha constitution, they need to be mindful not to, feed more or, having that approach. So the need to support children according to the constitution varies slightly. Of course, we are all humans. Our children are human children. So there is a general approach of human life, and there is a customization of that approach based on the constitution. That will make parents' life easier, the child's life easier. We will be able to get the best out of every child.
Absolutely. And it does make parents' lives easier because there's less of that decision fatigue. You know exactly what your child needs in food and lifestyle and so on, self-care to nourish that child. And often, you hear parents say, I have 2 children and they're complete opposites. So it's knowing how to support your child and taking the guesswork out. And this is what Ayurveda really helps us with. And in the book, you discuss the 4 inputs, food, water, breath, and perception. And I think in particular, perception is challenging in today's society. because the children are exposed to so much. And you also do talk about that, the input coming in through the five senses, and particularly parenting in the digital age. Can you talk a little bit about the five senses? And I think in particular perception, because parenting in the digital age is navigating a whole new world these days.
I agree with you. I felt always, in my last more than 2 decades of practice, I attract a lot of children in my practice. I never, in my bio or anywhere advertised that I would like to work with children more. But I always attract children in my practice when I was in India as well as here in the US. And I felt that many a time parents will say that, oh, I feel so guilty that I should not have given that to my child. Or they will say that I feel so guilty that I didn't do this for my child. Every parents love their children and they want, to give the best. And they want their children to, grow as the best. So I felt that there are gaps where they are not aware what to do. If they were aware, they would have done it in a better way. So that is one of my inspiration actually to write this book, how we can give them the right inputs and the guidance. Now, coming to this, the perception, according to me, that is the most important inputs in our life. These 4 inputs, food, water, breath, and perception. These are the only 4 inputs in our life from birth till death, nothing else. And the perception assumes the most, the importance out of those 4 factors, because perception is about how our mind takes and react to what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we read, what we watch. So it is actually mind care.
Yeah.
Because sense organs are just bringing the information. They are sattvic predominant in nature, all sense organs, because they bring the information as is, pure and clear. But how that influences the mind, that varies according to the status of the mind. Okay. So, especially as you rightly mentioned, now this is much more relevant, because when I was a kid, I'm at my home, what my parents tells me, my surroundings, playing in the garden, in the field, going to school, sitting there. There is only limited exposure to me and limited inputs for me in a day. But these days it is different. A child, even before junior high, they have their own smartphone in their hand, right? Many a time we give it to our children as a part of communication. If there is a problem, call mommy or daddy. So, but it has all the world, the entire world is inside that small gadget. So there is, the exposure to the information and is unlimited. And what they are going to get exposed, there is no control, or there is limited control over it. So that means the restriction of exposure to the external world is not a choice.
Yeah.
Now the question is how we can empower our children, how we can help our children to see things in the right way, discard what is not necessary, focus on what is important in their life, that need a different orientation, different approach. This is the time from the old, the directing, giving order, or, giving instruction to children. That parenting approach need to be changed. Now it is time to hug, hand hold, be the best buddies, where any exposure, if a child feel uncomfortable or unusual, the child should be able to come and talk to the mommy and daddy saying that, hey, I saw this. So you should have more access to your children now to help them navigate through this unlimited exposure of the external world. So the parenting style itself need to be changed, right? And you need to spend a little bit more time with your children these days. So that, because every day what they are getting exposed to different. And there will be conflict in information. At home, the child hears something, but in the, social media, it is something else.
Yeah.
And I have seen children going through, there are a lot of things available in the digital world. And the problem is, we are humans and our children are also humans. Naturally, human mind has a rajasic tint, because one of the quality of mind is that keeps on moving, right? Since it is subtle, the mind doesn't have a time barrier or a space barrier. For our physical body, I can be only in this room at this point of time, and I cannot go anywhere while I'm sitting here. I cannot go to my past or future with my physical body while I'm sitting here in California. But our mind is not like that. My mind, while I'm sitting here, it can go to my village in India, or I can go to my childhood and come back within a fraction of a second while I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Right? So the mind, because of that, mind has that rajasic tint. Rajasic tint means the tendency to move, the tendency to be intense. That makes us naturally having more of a, getting attracted to seeing problems, or if there is something unusual, looking at it, etc. So the tendency, that is why even not only children, all adults, why there is more negative news on the newspaper, why there is more negative news on the TV, news. Why? Because we naturally tend to see more curious to understand the problems, the deficiencies, the problem, the negativities. That is a human mind's tendency. From that tendency of a human, shifting them into a supportive, loving, caring, positive, harmonious state need real mindful navigation. And if parents are able to do that, for their children, it will be much easier for them. Otherwise, all negativity, they will identify this is the normal. When a child is playing, keep on, the killing games on a TV, after some time, seeing the blood or killing will be like a normal news for them.
Yeah.
Right? So I felt it is important. That's why I included that topic in my book about parenting in the digital age. It needs a different orientation to parents.
Yeah, 100%. Because as you said, they're just exposed to so much coming in all the time. And so it's definitely something that has shifted over the last decade, the more technology we're living with, and particularly that the younger generation now it's just part of their daily routine for them. And for children, in particular from birth to puberty, it's the kapha stage of life. And so can you talk a little bit about that? And in particular, what imbalance may arise due to the kapha stage of life, and what are the tendencies with this kapha aggravation in this kapha stage?
Sure. Yes. Ayurveda explains that the age, the digestion, the day, and the night, they all start with the kapha, proceed with the pitta, and end with vata. That means in our life, childhood the kapha, then the youth, or adulthood is pitta, then the old age is vata. So that is one more layer, right? We have so many layers in our life. One is our constitution. Then comes the day and night cycle. Then comes the seasonal cycle. Then comes, the various exposures where you are. This is one more layer. During the childhood, you are in a kapha predominant age, means you may tend to have kapha predominant imbalances, or it would be easy for you to get into a kapha predominant imbalance. Now, there may be a question that why is it kapha predominant age? Is it important to have a kapha predominance in that age? Of course, because kapha is the building energy, right? That which causes nourishment, that which causes building, structure. And childhood is the time of development, growth. So it is much more supportive. So there is no need to do anything against the kapha in the childhood generally. But parents should know that they are prone to certain conditions. For example, they are more prone to mucus generating kind of disorders. For example, congestion can be comparatively a little bit more. In children school going time, you can see that tendency, especially early childhood, more excessive salivation, drooling, or more tendency of congestion. And small, reasons are enough for them to develop those type of issues. And that is why we always say that during that age, how they are getting exposed to the various food and lifestyle patterns will help them to prevent the possibility of those kind of, exposure and the tendencies. But as I mentioned, the kapha predominant at that age is essential for supporting that, the growth and development. And this is regardless of the child's constitution, regardless of vata, pitta, or kapha, or combination constitution. All children in that age, we say that it's a time of getting the body more heavier, or nourishment, development of the structure. It is not a negative aspect, Colette. It is more of a supportive aspect really needed for that particular age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there's a reason for the kapha predominance at that time, because as you said, it's all about building tissues, and then, but a byproduct of those tissues is more of that mucus, right? So it's just a natural byproduct. And in some, it can cause more imbalances. And then as we're continuing through the stage, I guess let's talk a little bit about the pitta stage, which is more around the puberty time. We start the puberty pitta stage.
This book, I really directed towards parents who have children between the age of 3 and 16, because the need for the neonate and very small babies are slightly different. And since it's come to the 16, I also covered that kind of the teenage issues. See, any transition is challenging. Right? A seasonal transition is challenging. The same way, the transition from a childhood to adolescence, the puberty, it's a challenging time for the kids. And as a part of that transition, there can be certain tendencies, certain new shift in their approach to life, the way they respond, the way they take things, etc. And it's, they are in real crisis at that point of time, because they are used to a particular pattern of thinking, doing things, etc. Suddenly they don't know themselves. There is a shift. And since they are in that age, they don't have that kind of maturity to understand that, hey, I am thinking in this way, I am feeling in this way, I'm tend to, get into these because of my transition. I need to be mindful, because they are not that in that age of maturity to understand and take care of those, situations. Whereas that load comes to the parents. If parents understands that during that the transition from the the puberty age, there can be physical, hormonal, psychological, emotional shift in their children. And that shift, if the parent is not aware about it, they will think that why my child is talking against me, or in this tone, in a rebellion way. And there is more kind of, both the side can develop frustration. And it was very interesting for me, Colette, to see this. One parents of these teenagers, whenever I ask how, there is an expression saying that I don't want to talk about it, or, oh, it is so difficult. That kind of a feeling from on the parents' face.
Uh-huh.
You talk to the children at that age, they're always like, oh, mom. You talk about how is it going? Oh, no need to say anything about mom. I am fed up. I am enough with it. Kind of an expression from the children.
Yeah.
Now, as very small kids, that is not there, right? They are, for a small child, a girl child, mother is the role model, and a small boy, dad is the role model. They want to be like with dad, and there is more. I felt there is an expression of more bonding, connection, oneness in the early childhood than this transitional period, the teenage period. Then the question is, where is that gap? From where the gap came, right? From where that gap initiated. And how, when children are in high school and college, parents feel that, oh my goodness, it is out of control from me. I see this, many a time. And children feel that, oh, they are too much micromanaging me. There is a lack of freedom or interfering in my thing. There is a gap developing. That gap is because the child transitioning to adolescence and the early adulthood stage, they are in crisis. They have different feelings, different thoughts, different way of looking at the world, where parents expect them to continue to be that small child, doing only what they, suggested, eating only what they gave, and etc. Rather than understanding it is a natural evolution. It is a part of my baby ready to fly. My child is getting more, matured and freedom. And this is a transitional period. This is a crisis for them also.
Yes.
I need to support and help and be with them and hug them more, spend more time with them, changing from ordering something to a buddy, a best friend status. Many a time, parents, it is difficult to make that shift because they want to continue like the small baby, following only what they felt with, what they do, what they want. And that is where the crisis comes. That is where the gap comes. And if parents are, a little bit mindful about that age, rather than if the child is talking back to you, understanding that, hey, my child is now grown to talk back to me, and that is a positive sign that they are getting more stronger and independent, we tend to take the other way. And I felt that is the gap. I wanted to indicate that in my book, that can be filled by more connection, positive conversation, hugs, and having supportive and giving a space in your life, parents, that your child should feel that freedom, comfort to come and talk to you, anything it is going on in their mind or in their school or what they're getting exposed to, so that you can help them. When the gap continues, where the child is reluctant to tell to the parents, and parents see the child is doing something beyond what they wanted the child to be, or talking in a way which is slightly different from the early childhood, that gap increases. And parents need to take that initial step to fill that gap, to avoid that gap. The children will never take that because they don't have maturity at that point of time in thinking that way. So that was the message. That is why certain tools I provided in that book, how you can fill that gap, how you can help your children in that crisis period. Please understand that your child is going through the transition. Transition is a crisis, a challenge for anybody, right? Especially in children.
Absolutely. And it's so great, the tools that you give to help parents navigate, but also the understanding what's happening, because it's not only a developmental transition, but also an emotional transition, not only for the child or the teenager, but for the parents as well.
Of course, definitely. I've seen enough, Colette, in my practice last few years. Many a time I start my consultation with one of the family member, then they will bring their spouse, then the children, then parents. I'm the, kind of a family practitioner for many families in India and here in the US. So I can really see the dynamics, how it is transitioning or what is happening in the family. And I talk to children. I love working with children. And I found it is much easier to work with children than the adults. Even my own friends, Colette, ask me, hey, how you're managing children with these bitter herbs and bitter decoctions and all. And is it challenging? I tell them it is much easier to work with the children than adults because they are fresh, they are open. And it's all about, this is one of the most important tip I wanted to convey to the parents in the book, also at various areas in my book, that it's all about how you introduce something new to your child.
Yes.
It is not about what it is. How you introduce that makes the difference. Okay. For example, a small thing. So you got a supplement which is good for your child, but it is slightly astringent or bitter. It's not like, very sweet and syrup, that kind of thing. If you give a full dose to your child first day and the child feel that it's so close, I can't handle it. You try to give in any other way in future, they will not be. There will be a complete reluctance. But the same item, I have done this in a lot of cases, Colin. So the same item, in place of giving a teaspoon, you give a drop with some maple syrup or some honey, etc. And no problem. It is tasty, but they got introduced to that flavor a little bit subtle. Then you keep enhancing the dosage. And in few days, you come to the full dose, there will not be any problem for them to take. So it's about that introduction. It's not only about the herbs or formulation, anything.
Yeah.
Rather than making them overwhelmed or feeling, an aversion to anything, when they get introduced, they will never explore that area because the first experience was not positive. So the key for the parents would be anything in that first few years of, their child's life. Try to introduce anything good in a pleasant way, positive way, minimal way, and enhance.
Absolutely. Okay. Introducing it gradually. And as you said, with teenagers, you have to respect the fact that they have their own voice and they want to feel in charge of their own lives and gain some independence. So doing it in a gradual way will also build up more of a bonding relationship rather than trying to enforce something.
Correct. When your child is taking a bold step or expressing a topic in a bold way, you should be proud of.
Yeah.
Right. Rather than why this child is so, strongly telling, you should be internally proud of. And, and if the tone is not that right, you need to have a positive conversation. And you need to say that, I always say that if your child is talking back to you and you are uncomfortable, sit with your child, say that, honey, I know that you are getting stronger and I'm proud of you. And, but when you say like this, it is, I'm feeling a little bit, I don't know, I'm feeling hurt. So I need your help. I need your help. There is no problem in seeking help from your children or your spouse.
Right.
Because you're all in this together in the journey. So there is no need of, sometime that I am the dad, you should just follow what I'm saying, or I am the mom and you should follow. So that also creates the gap.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And what you do so well in this book is explaining what's happening. And like we're talking about here, the stages of children's lives, and also the understanding that, puberty, they're going to the pitta stage of life. So there's a little bit more fire there, there's more fieriness and a sharper tongue, and understanding that can give you compassion towards your child and just understanding that they're navigating this new way of being in the world with more of that pitta fire in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That you can see, in that teenage period when they move from that 10, 11 to 12, 13, that is the period where you can see that a major shift in them, the way they do things, the way their approach to life, the way they talk. There will be a visible shift in that. Sometimes even they are not comfortable in that, right?
Yeah.
They are going through the crisis. That is a time where children can develop different psychological issues. I had so many cases. There you are more, conscious about your body. You are more conscious about your height. You are more conscious about how you are able to do the PE. And they are going through that emotional issue. Because as human beings, the human mind always bring the deficiencies and the problem to the front. And the human mind will never automatically show the blessings and what I have. It is primarily showing what are the deficiencies and what are the problems. So in that age, the child may have good height, but the child has some pimples. The child will be worried about pimple and feeling low about pimple. Won't feel that, oh, I'm tall in my class and I'm so proud of it. The positive side is never recognized, but the problems and deficiencies will be more recognized. And that can really put them into either anxiousness or depression, those type of things. That's a very delicate period, and parents should be mindful about that.
I'm going to interrupt my conversation with Dr. J just for a moment to let you know I have a new quiz available on the homepage of my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And this quiz will help you determine if you have an accumulation of ama or toxins in the body. Ayurveda teaches us that ama is a result of undigested food from a impaired digestive system, and is this accumulation of ama that can be the bedrock for many diseases. So if you're interested in taking that quiz, check out the link in the show notes or the homepage of my website. I also wanted to let you know that I have an upcoming discounted group digestive reset cleanse starting January 27th, 2023. This cleanse comes with a 90-minute one-to-one online consult with me so I can determine your birth constitution and if you have any current imbalances that need to be addressed. And then I tailor the recipes, the self-care, yoga, the mindfulness practices, etc. to you and your lifestyle. You can find information on this cleanse on my website under the events tab, or if that date of January 27th doesn't work for you, you can do a private cleanse and choose your own dates, and you can find the details of the private cleanse under programs. So check out the link in the show notes for all the details. Okay, let's go back to my conversation with Dr. J. And in the book, you give wonderful Ayurvedic home remedies as well, which is fantastic. And you also talk a lot about establishing some routines in children's lives. And you talk about establishing those early. Can you talk about the importance of some of those routines and maybe give a sample of a couple, please?
Sure, definitely. Yeah. It's all about routine in sync with the nature. Now, I'm here in America, coming from a village in India, Kerala. And I still follow certain routines which I got used to when I was a kid. Because that's what we have been doing, I got used to it. I still follow the routines from my village. Whereas where I am in America, the routines are of an average person is totally different from mine. So we tend to carry many things what we are getting used to, what we were practicing in our childhood. And that many a time we enjoy that because that will connect us to our childhood, where we were, to our people around us, etc. So the routines are important. Routine doesn't mean that you are too strict about your day-to-day life and you are like a machine. Many a time, when you say routine, I'm not a machine to do same thing every day.
Yeah.
It is not about like a robot doing a machine, but following certain principles. For example, let me start from the most important routine, the sleep. Usually the routine, we
Yes.
think that we start from waking up, but that waking up depends upon when you sleep. So I usually, when I guide people, I start the routine from sleep, not from waking up.
Mm-hmm.
So sleep. This is, I think, I give enough stress about the sleep aspect in my book also. Ayurveda says the sleep time is much more important for your health and longevity than your awake time.
Mm.
Generally, in the modern world, we think that the awake time and productivity, etc., is most important for my health and longevity. But the fact is that from the time we wake up in the morning till we sleep, it's only wear and tear.
Yeah.
Physical wear and tear, mental, emotional, sensory wear and tear. The only time our mind-body system heal, repair, replenish, recoup, rejuvenate is during the deepest state of sleep. That too, sleep during the moon hours. Now, I read an article, it's a few months back. It was saying that the most active time of teenagers in America is between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And I was really concerned about that.
Mm.
Right? That means there is a new generation developing, getting used to late nights.
Yeah.
And from an Ayurvedic perspective, for me, it is alarming. Why it is alarming? Because the principle is that there are two types of energies influencing us and the nature every day and night. The heating, stimulating sun energy during the daytime, the cooling, nurturing, stabilizing, nourishing moon energy during the nighttime. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the benefit and quality of sleep, what you can get during the night hours, the moon hours. Now, heating, stimulating sun energy. So that means there is a moon hour and sun hour. What is that? What does that mean? They say that your moon hour starts 48 minutes after the sunset. Because even after 48 minutes after the sunset, there will be sun's stimulating energy in the atmosphere. And the sun energy will start percolating into the atmosphere. It will start percolating 48 minutes before the sunrise.
Mm.
So the real benefit of sleep, what you can get, is during the moon hours. So I suggest majority of your time, if it is, these days, I don't think there is anybody who is willing to wake up very early, etc. But still, there's a medium path to do. Try to make your sleep as much as possible during the moon hours. Then the question is why? If I am sleeping on my couch, daytime I am also snoring and I don't know anything. And nighttime also I am snoring and I don't know anything. What is the difference in sleep, day and night? They say that your body can get rest by lying in a couch during the daytime. But there are subtle systems like mind, immune system, hormonal system, neurological system. They all come under the subtle system. The subtle systems are more not at the material level. It is more the energetic connecting to the material level. And they cannot get rest and recuperation when there is heating, stimulating energy in the nature. So that means your mind, your immune system, your hormonal system, and your nervous system can get rest, recuperation, nurturing, nourishment if you sleep maximum duration during the moon hours. That is why Ayurveda always suggests, please sleep early. So I always suggest parents to make sure that they are developing a routine in their children, that they are sleeping early. Especially early childhood, they need much more sleep hours than their awake time, because that is where the real growth and nourishment are required. Okay, so sleep routine. Sleeping, developing a tendency to sleep early. And if there is a homework, etc., developing a tendency to wake up early in the morning and do that. That's what I have done in my childhood. And, at that point of time, there were multiple reasons for that, because I got electricity at my home when I was in 11th grade.
Ah,
We were learning from oil lamps, and we
right.
didn't want to burn a lot of oil. We tend to sleep early and wake up with before the sunrise,
Mm.
so that the learning in the morning, and that is considered as the best time. In this modern world, there is no that kind of an understanding how it can really benefit the physical, mental, emotional well-being and the balance of the individual, better memory, better mental strength, balanced immune system, balanced hormonal system, and neurological health. That is, for example, I'm giving as a routine, helping the child, developing a routine to sleep early and waking up early.
Mm.
Okay, that is one thing. Second is about the meal routines. The meal routines. Having an average rhythm of eating, that is another most important thing. When we talk about food, we usually talk about three things: what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat. And Ayurveda says when is the most important.
Yeah.
Because everything in this nature works in cyclic rhythms, and everything in our body also. So having a reasonably good meal time will make sure the child feel hungry properly. They are able to eat well. It will digest well, absorb well, and they will nourish well, because the whole system is got set for that circadian rhythm. So these are some of the things, and spending some time together, the parents and children, having some fun activity as a part of. They are going to really cherish that their whole life. That the nice time spent with the parents and having that routine, and that itself will help them to continue the routine even the absence of parents, because they enjoyed that. That will bring them some nice memory spending with the parents, etc. Creating that positive, comfortable, the positive impressions can help them to sustain many of the routines.
Yeah.
If we make it fun, enjoyable, any of the routines.
And I suspect that the activity between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. with children may be related to technology. And I know in the book you talked about, managing that for your children and help them to understand maybe no technology in the room or turning off the Wi-Fi. Things like that can really help set up good sleeping conditions for your child. Because of course they're going to be distracted if their phone is there beside their bed and it's pinging or the light is going off.
Yeah. That is so important. Now, I'm telling you this, the future health hazard, one is going to be the EMF.
Yeah.
The electromagnetic field created by all this Wi-Fi's and internet. And when we move from the 3G to 4G, 5G, we are happy. But it is the same electromagnetic field that is our nervous system, etc., working.
Yes.
So that is why I always suggest to, if you are keeping your phone in your room, it should be in airplane mode before you sleep. Try to keep it away from the modem, from the smart meter of your electricity. That is also the EMF. So there are a lot of new guidance needed for the modern world than the ancient books mention, because humans are adapting and adopting new methods of living and technology. So important.
Yeah, and you give great guidance and you talk about breath and a mantra, and you go into so many great routines. And as I said, so many great Ayurvedic home remedies. Congratulations again, Dr. J. It's such a great book. And as we mentioned several times in our conversations, it's a necessary book to get children thinking of the Ayurvedic principles or creating foundations at a young age so that they sustain them throughout their life and support longevity and good health so that they can thrive in life, really.
Sure. Definitely. Much needed. And I made it sure that it's an Ayurvedic guide for parents, but I try to make sure that I'm not overwhelming with a lot of, the Ayurvedic terminologies, etc.
Exactly.
I wanted to give the principles and in a practical way how they can implement in this modern world while they are leading a modern life. So I was mindful about bringing my approach. It's the ancient traditions and the teachings of Ayurveda, but it is practicable or, easily, that can be applied in the modern world.
Yeah, that's great. And it is really like a manual and just giving very practical guidelines, tips, remedies, and routines. Fantastic. So where can people find your book, Dr. J?
Okay, yeah. The book is available in Kerala Ayurveda's own, store. It is called Kerala Ayurveda.store. If, the person who want to buy the book is in America or Canada, they can buy from Kerala Ayurveda.store, or it's available on Amazon in any country.
Great.
It's available on Amazon also.
Well, wonderful. And can you tell us a little bit about the offerings at Kerala Ayurveda as well? Please?
Of course, yeah. Kerala Ayurveda is an Ayurvedic education institution, pioneering, institution, a premier institution offering professional Ayurvedic education across the globe. Our main hubs are here in California, in the US, Norway in Europe, and Cochin in India. So we offer professional Ayurvedic education certification program, Ayurvedic health counselor, Ayurvedic practitioner, and Ayurvedic doctor programs, many workshops, webinar series. We have a wellness center here in Milpitas, California, where we offer all Ayurvedic bodywork techniques, including Panchakarma and rejuvenation, Ayurvedic consultation. Then Kerala brings a lot of, tools, the most authentic herbs and formulations, in a very earth-friendly, packaging, etc.
Excellent.
To the US. Not a job, or this is not a work or a business. For us, this is our life, and we want to do the best what we can to educate the world, to guide them, and making sure that the health is in their hand. They have all the possibilities to take charge of their health, and nature offers all the resources to sustain that. And Ayurveda is all about it. And
people can find all these offerings on KeralaAyurveda.us, correct?
Correct. Kerala Ayurveda.us.
Perfect.
KeralaAyurveda.us.
Perfect. And I will put all those links in the show notes as well. Dr. Sure. J, it's always a pleasure. Congratulations again on this fantastic book. I recommend that all parents go out and buy it to help you navigate the world of raising children, and with some really wonderful Ayurvedic principles.
Thank you. Thank you, Colette. Please keep continuing your great work you are doing, sharing this knowledge of Ayurveda across the globe. And I always enjoy your podcast. I try to listen to various, sessions you conduct. You're doing
really?
A great job. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. J. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dr. J. And please check out the show notes for all the links mentioned in this episode, including the link to Dr. J's book, The Parent's Complete Guide to Ayurveda, Principles, Practices, and Recipes for Happy, Healthy Kids. And this book is the National Parent Product Awards winner for 2022. So congratulations again to Dr. J. And if you think that this episode will be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them so we can spread this wonderful wisdom of Ayurveda. Also, don't forget, I have that new Amma quiz on the homepage of my website. And I also have the upcoming Digestive Reset Cleanse, the discounted group cleanse, starting January 27th. So click on the link in the show notes for all the information, or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. If you haven't already followed or subscribed to the podcast, please do so the new episodes will automatically download for you. And if you would like to rate and review the podcast, I would really appreciate that. And you can find me on social media under Elements Healing and Wellbeing on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.